Hi,
This is episode 5 of the Quirky Book Sirens.
we're going to talk about love in honor of Valentine's Day. We're going to talk about what makes a good love story
To us.
to us, of course. But I think some of the things are universal to some degree and what speaks to people, but not always, because there's some things that we like that other people don't like.
True.
So, who wants to start off?
I guess we could start off with what we both think. I mean, we talked a little bit about this earlier. What we both think makes a good love story.
Yep.
Like, what are the qualities before we delve into like the books that we feel like embody
Well, we
those
both agree that
qualities?
we think like tension or build up
Definitely.
has a lot to do with it.
I
Uh,
think,
go
like, especially if it's like a trilogy or something,
Yeah,
like the longer you can keep the suspense up, the better for me.
I agree, although I think that it can go on for too long at
True.
times.
True.
Um, so if it happens too easily, then where's the fun in that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really like it's a part of the joy of the story is the buildup of the love, the romance. And I can think of like the Chicagoland vampire series. You never read it, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the main character, the girl, finds out she gets turned into a vampire or whatever, and they're integrated into society in the book. And the lead vampire of this like one clan and her, they kind of like dance and have this like love hate relationship that's very close that and finally eventually turns into romance. And it took a little bit longer than I liked, but I really enjoyed the whole um, dance between them. It was fun. And it took when they finally get together though, there's sometimes like if it's a series and it keeps going on, then you're kind of like, okay, what can they do? Can they do with this
Mm-hmm.
now? And
Yeah.
then it comes down to that, which kind of sucks because it's like in real life you want to have the relationship happen easily
Mm-hmm.
and have a happy, normal, calm, like non, conflict relationship. But in books, it's like the more conflict, the better.
I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I intend to. Is
Yeah,
read Pride and Prejudice
yeah.
and by Jane Austen, and it's on my to be read list. And but to talk about build up is in the movie version of it that was the most recent one. I think that had Chris Keira Knightley. Um, there's a scene in it where like Mr. Darcy like helps her into the carriage and like his hand touches her and then like it does a shot of his hand like clamping up like
Yeah.
it meant something to him or whatever. And like to me that moment of him just clenching his hand is like a huge tension build up for me that I'm like it was nothing but it was everything. I love that kind of stuff.
I do too, in books and in movies, because well, you're saying that like um, in the Twilight movie, in the first Twilight movie,
Or
I felt like
Spanking
there was so
Suits.
much tension between them, and but they barely ever touched the whole
Yeah.
time, and I thought it was done so well because I was like, oh, like so hungry for more for it.
Yep.
So I thought that it was really well done in the movie and in the book, even though some, people complain about the characters. I thought it was really well done in the book as well.
Yeah, I like little glances, little touches, little things like that that like initially are the big build up that can span, 3/4 of the book until like the finale where it's like, the big climax of it.
Yeah,
Um,
and like in books that you're gonna have them have sex, like no sex right away. Like that
mm-mm,
has to
mm-mm,
be the longest build up to that
mm-hmm.
happens. Otherwise, like my interest is kind of gone. Like as far as I mean, I might be really interested in the plot, but as long as there is a good plot, that's not just them. But once that happens, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
where's there to go from here? They're
Yeah.
happily ever after.
And to be honest, I don't like a lot of the sexual thing. Like if it's gonna be in the book once or twice and then
Yeah.
have the plot sustain the story. And when it's like every other page, the sex can get a little old.
Oh yeah, if it's too much. I mean, that's why neither one of us is really an erotica reader.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so the term insta-love was new to me a couple of years ago. Um, and I know why people dislike it in the sense that, if it's suddenly like, oh, I love you so much, that it seems disingenuous. But um, for me, I guess when it's in like YA, especially, as long as they're not like telling each other I love you and in
Hmm.
10 minutes after meeting, I think it's reflective of um, youth. I mean, they have like very passionate, like wild roller coaster emotions, and they feel very deeply about things. So I do think that it's pretty reflective of that. And I also believe in, that there's instant connections that happen all the time between people, attractions, and so um, instant love for me, as long as it's done well, I think can make for a good love story in a good love story, as well as like fated love.
Well, Romeo and Juliet, I think, is a classic that everybody is familiar with. And what is it? It's instant
It's
love,
yeah,
and obviously it does appeal to a mass audience, that type of instant connection.
yeah.
Um, just seems to be kind of a little too trendy right now, I guess. I don't really,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I feel like it's been in YA for and
you know.
fantasy forever, though.
No, I agree. Well,
Not
fantasy,
that-
there's also the element of, like in the L.J. Smith books, a lot of it, she's like the soulmates principles in the night world, where um, it's an instant connection because they're bounded by fate to be together.
Right, right.
And I like those types of stories, and that kind of instant love appeals to me because I'm a romantic, but also because it's fantasy and it can exist in that realm,
Yeah,
so it doesn't bother me.
yeah. It can exist within the world because
It's fantasy.
it's fantasy, and that's
Anything can exist in
you're reading
fantasy.
for to believe anything can happen. Um, yes, I agree with that. Other things I like I think that make a good love story are like likable. I mean, obviously likable heroes and heroines. I don't think
Hmm.
anybody's going to disagree with me on that one.
Yeah, somebody you can connect to,
Yeah.
somebody you could see yourself wanting to date.
Hmm.
Um, they have to be strong too, both of them. It can't just be a damsel in distress or one saving the other. They have to both kind of save each other.
Yeah. Yeah, like I had that too, like a sense that the two characters make each other stronger too,
Hmm.
like make each other better. Um, I like stories sometimes where they are close, but they don't realize each other's feelings for each other. But the author has to do it like so subtly that the reader doesn't see it until sometime into the book, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to let you in on the secret before they see it, kind of thing. It's very subtle, um, but so that it's not predictable right from the beginning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see. Well, it's like the best friend sort of thing, even though sometimes it's
Yeah.
kind of predictable, but you don't necessarily know if both of them are going to reciprocate
Yeah, because there's
the
times where
feelings.
I've read books where like you thought you didn't know that what was going to happen. It could go either way, and then other ones where it was so obvious. It was like, okay, this is too predictable. What other what do you have on your list?
I'm drawing a blank right now. Did you have anything else written?
Um, I think we just talked about soulmates, like destined love. Um, yeah, I guess
Build up.
yeah, the build up. I mean,
Strong characters.
yeah, unrequited love. I mean, it can be good as long as it gets requited, like as
Yeah,
it's fulfilled.
yeah,
I don't really like stories where that's not doesn't
yeah.
really make for a great love story.
No. We like happy endings.
All right, so we have a couple books that we feel like are examples of some of the things we talked about. Why don't you talk about yours first? Because I have more than you.
Alright, mine are maybe a little dated, so I apologize. But this one is contemporary in the sense that it's a TV show now. I just finished Outlander about a month ago. It was on my to be read list for a long time. Um, it was actually written in the 90s, which I was surprised about, and it's just now becoming popular because of I think it's Stars is producing a show on it, which it's good. You should check it out. But I think what we had the topic of who would we want to be our boyfriend if we were living in these books, and like, and for me, I think Jamie, the main male who is actually this person in the show, would be my boyfriend pick, right now, because he is strong and he is loving and he is faithful, and he he is supportive of his wife, and
Come on, those are
funny.
just like basic qualities. Is there
So
anything else
what?
that does it?
I don't know. I mean, he's just like a really likable character. He's humorous. He's um
He just sounds like the perfect
he
man.
is the perfect man. He really is the perfect man.
What else?
Um
Is he rugged? What?
he's very rugged. He's
Yeah.
Scottish. Come on. Oh, well, that's also the thing. I have a thing for the Scottish men. So this also fills that for me because he's Scottish, so I get to read about, him and his kilt, and
Yeah.
you know, he's all muddy, and it just works for me. The only thing about this book that I don't like, and it's a fantastic read, and I read it really, really fast, is that there's too much sex. It happens constantly.
Yeah.
And so it gets to a point where it's it's getting boring.
Right.
But other than that, he's a great lover too. Takes the time with the woman. Perfect
The
man.
perfect man.
Yeah. So that would be my boyfriend pick. Would be Jamie from Outlander.
Does he have any flaws?
Um, Not really.
Mine like has a lot of flaws, my book boyfriend. like
What is yours?
Taryn from mine's a little dated too, but whatever. It's like I like love this character. When I was younger, I used to be like, I want to meet a man named Taryn. It's called the I don't know why the Time Master trilogy. Uh, it's a trilogy, so there's three books, obviously. But and it's by Louise Cooper, and he's like a it's this girl, and she ends up getting taken away, and she's kind of like a peasant, you know, considered
Mm-hmm.
that. She gets taken away. She's like a servant. She gets taken away by like warps, and they're like these storms or whatever, and she ends up in this castle that's like kind of outside of time. And it turns out like he's in human form, but he's actually like um, he was like part of this like big. I think they were like magic users. It's been a while since I read it. I want to reread it though and write about it. And but he like turns out to be like a chaos lord, but he's like kind of misunderstood. And there's this juxtaposition between the chaos lords and the lords of order. Anyways, I loved him in this. He was just kind of like dark and tall and mysterious, but he was really kind and caring, and like you could tell how much he cares about her. And then the build up between their romance was that build up we talked about. It like took a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's awesome. It's my favorite. If I read it again, like it's been some years since I read them. I don't Would I still love him as much? Probably because I think I read him like 6 years ago and still was really into the romance.
Mm.
But yeah, you have another one.
Well, I don't have another boyfriend
No, I know, but you have another
pick,
book with a good love story in it.
but I read this probably back in high school. It was also written in the 90s. No, actually, I'm wrong. It was written in 2001. So I guess it was college. No, high school still. Um, this is, I know I overdo her. Um,
Favorite author, hashtag favorite author.
yeah, Juliet Marillier. I think she is a queen at writing decent love stories. Her books are unfortunately um, sometimes share the same how
Plot.
yeah, kind of the same plot, and the more you read of her, the more you know kind of where it's going every single time with the love story. But I still love it, and this was my it's called Son of the Shadow. It was book two of the Seven Waters series. Um, in it, I picked this book as my favorite love story because it takes place about a girl. She I think it's like Leodin or something. I never know how to really pronounce her name. It's Celtic. She gets abducted by this like band of outlaws, and they're like heavily tattooed, and they're all sorts of violent kind of guys, and they abduct her to heal one of their mates who is badly wounded because she's a healer. She's a known healer in the area, and she, heals them kind of against her will because she's being held captive. But the main leader, the war band leader, is a very complicated, dark kind of character,
I see where this is going.
and he's strong in a physical form, but he's kind of um, emotionally damaged,
Yeah.
and so she kind of helps heal him, I guess you can say.
She changes him.
She doesn't really change him.
That's good.
He
They'll
she
be like,
just
what are we
she
teaching people? Yeah.
No, she helps heal some of his wounds.
Okay, well, that happens a lot in like books and romances where they heal each other, kind of thing. Yeah.
But I've always really liked the two characters,
Yeah.
him and her. I think his name's like Brand or something like that. Um, and
Sounds strong and masculine.
he's
Right.
very strong and masculine. And the whole like being in the woods with like these rebels, and she doesn't know if her life's in danger or not, and like the slow buildup of this love story between them where they start to recognize each other, a kindred spirit, I guess, in each other. I've just there's like one sex scene in it, and it's like the most amazing moment in the book because you're just like finally, and it was enough. I didn't need more than that because it was the ultimate um,
Culmination of their love.
finale. But anyways, I love that book because I love the two characters. She's a strong female and he's a strong male, and
Yeah.
they're both vulnerable to each other. So that's my favorite love story in a book of all time.
I have, okay, well, I have a couple more. I have another oldie but goodie. It's The Last Wizard by Tanya Huff. It's part of the Wizard of the Grove series. It's like two books, but this is the second book. Anyways, I don't want to get too into it unless, because it could be a spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't read it, even though it's older. Somebody might pick it up and want to read it. It is Tanya Huff after all. Um,
Oh my god, I just spoiled the book, didn't I?
Spoiler alert, too
I should
late.
probably put a little warning, people. If you want to read this book, there's a little spoiler. Whoops, sorry.
Just- Anyways, she uh, she has a relationship with a guy in the first book, but there's like a spoiler alert. There's an overarching relationship that takes place in the second book, and there's like, and it. I love how I love the culmination of it, the ending, and how they finally end up together, and it's just always been one of my favorites. It wasn't like, it just was like a growth of a relationship between her. And she's like this great wizard. And anyways, I'm not going to get too into it because I don't really want to do the spoils. But okay, so this one, my name is Memory by Anne Brashars. It's kind of like one of those, it was like a destined love, but it was because they had lived many lives together. And in it, he like remembers all his lives, and the girl, she doesn't. It goes through kind of like him trying to get her to remember in present day, but she kind of has flashbacks, and I don't know. I loved it. I just thought it was a beautiful story. I really just like, and I probably have to read it again because it was a couple years ago, but it stuck with me about how much I really liked it. I think I reviewed it on the site and stuff. Um, so I don't know. It's just one of my favorite newer love stories that I've read. And I did want to go really quick into, um, we talked about friendship love,
Hmm.
but you said like you were kind of thinking like Juliet Marillier again because.
Well, there was one story for me that sticks out. That was a friendship, love, that eventually evolved into something more.
Yeah.
Um, but
Oh, into like a romantic love.
yeah, well, that.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking like, okay, so I meant just like friendships. Um,
Oh,
like Judy Blume's Summer Sisters. It's one of my favorite books. And it's about two girls and their best friend and their best friends and their friendship together. And it's kind of reminded me of some of my own friendships at times. The ending is kind of different and it's not totally focused on them, but it does come kind of back around to the two girls. And I don't know, it's just always a really cool book. And then finally, really quick, I just want to say, because I just read this, it's called The Darkest Part of the Forest. It's a really good book. And it's not like a love story, but there's stories in it, and then there's like a little love story, and it could have been bigger, and I would have minded if it was bigger, but the way it was done, even though it wasn't like the main theme, was actually really well done. It had all the things that we were talking about, like the build up and the kind of like neither one knows that they like each other kind of thing, and so I thought it was pretty well done. So I think that was it.
that was it. Yeah. Um,
So,
tell
every,
us your favorites.
everybody have a loving Valentine's Day with either a significant other or your kid or a best friend. Just have a great Valentine's
Or a
Day.
box of chocolate and ice cream.
Full of love and wine. Me and a wine bottle. No, I have a husband, but wine and everything else, and a little boy who's very cute, who's my Valentine. But yeah, just have a great Valentine's Day filled with love of any kind.
See you next episode.
Laters.